Now here's something you wouldn't expect to hear. It's Bill Acker demonstrating a switching system that he's dialing from.
Watch what happens.
We're sorry you have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached
The Carolina telephone lady? Bill in Carolina telephone territory? Well, for a while he lived there, in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Now, Bill, unlike me, was never a big fan of independent telephone companies, and the number that he had while he was there, 347-2355, well, you know, I detect a protest there, don't you? 2355 spells Bell, not an independent phone company. But Bill was a real trooper, and no matter where he was, he discovered how the telephone system worked. Bill had access to a home phone on a Carolina telephone step. That's something I never had access to. These are excerpts from a taped letter to a friend named Alan, recorded by Bill in April 1977 when he was in Jacksonville, from his home phone. This, of course, has been resequenced from the raw tape to make it more comprehensible and interesting as a program. This was sent as a taped letter, one phone freak to another, so of course it wasn't intended for public consumption. I've made it a little more user-friendly. The raw tape will even contain some more information, such as about the selectors incoming from various local offices in the area and the ringback circuit, which Bill didn't completely understand. The first thing he talks about is what he refers to as 5-2, or the fiddle. I discussed something like this in Washington, North Carolina, another Carolina telephone step. Very often in a Carolina telephone step, you find this code that when you dial it, all of a sudden this reorder just seems to come on out of nowhere. What that is an official DDD code. Certain people within the central office using certain lines can dial that 2-digit code and then call long distance for free. Whether you get that reorder or whether you're allowed to use it depends on some sort of class marking on your phone line.
Let me just pick up my phone and see if 5-2 is working, but I'm sure it's not going to actually go through. Dial 5, ka-chunk, 2, ka-chunk, and then go to reorder. Listen. I surely do wish I knew how that restriction works. The 5 went through a big long one. That's not surprising. Lots of things begin with 5 here. The 451, 453, and 455. The 2 went through a couple of... So some lucky person is on it, from the phone building, of course.
For a while, it worked, and Bill could reach it from his home phone. But by the time he got the tape running, it was the same as it was from that coin phone in Washington, North Carolina when I tried it. Anyway, here's Bill talking to another phone freak about how the local exchange here works.
Let me explain my local office a little bit. On step, pick up the phone, get dial tone from the first selector. I'll go through the levels on the first selector. 1, of course, is toll, long distance. 2 puts you into the 324 office. 324 is a step local exchange. It's in a town called Richlands, and you dial 2 and you go into it, and then 4 unlocks the digit absorption. You got to dial them, and for 3, 4, 5,000 numbers up to 5,700, or some working numbers there. The 3s and actually there's 9s also. The 3s and 9s are tied in common. Anyway, 2 puts you into the 324 office. 3 is absorbing repeatedly. When you unlock it with a 6, it goes into the 346, 3,000 numbers. 4 is absorbing repeatedly. When you unlock it with a 6, it goes into 346, 4,000. 5 goes to another selector, so I'll go into that in a second. 6, when you unlock it by dialing it, it's digit absorbing once, so you unlock it by dialing it once, goes into 346, 6,000. 7 is 347. 8 is, you have to unlock it. If you don't unlock it, it goes to reorder. It's not absorbing. You unlock it with a 6, and it goes 346, 8,000. 9, You unlock it because, again, it doesn't absorb. It just goes to reorder if you dial it without dialing the 6. You unlock it with a 6, it goes into the 346, 9000. 0 is operator, and 0 plus. I'll go into that in a second. Okay, the 5s are for our local prefixes. 5-1 is for 451, because as you see, the 4 is absorbed. 5-2 is the fiddle. 5-3 is 353. 5-4 is blank. It goes to vacant code recording. 5-5 is for 455, and the rest of them are blank. 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. I dial them every day because maybe there's some other kind of fiddles. Okay, the 1 goes into what they call what Bell System at least calls a double header trunk. It has to decide whether to put you into the SAT equipment.
SAT is Stroger Automatic Toll Ticketing, the system that handles the 1+ dialing in most Carolina telephone steps.
It has to decide whether to put you into the SAT equipment, whether to leave you in the step. So you dial a 1, and you've seized the SAT trunk, even though AC it sounds like you're on step. You're not cut through to it. One of my favorite tricks, just for fun, is to dial 1, wait about a minute and a half. It's a long time. About a minute, I guess, is the timeout on it. And then you dial a 2, you hear silence, and you dial 2, and you're into the busy signal. It should be 120, but they put 60 on it. Jacksonville, North Carolina. North Carolina's finest.
Bill didn't record doing that, but I do have a recording of that same effect from Marietta, Georgia, a Bell step. When the doubleheader sees the 2, it's going to cut us into the TSPS trunk, where a reorder is already in progress.
But if you dial 1-1, then you release the SAT trunk, and you're ready on the selector, the service code selector. The reason you have to seize the SAT trunk, of course, is because that first digit you dial has to be registered in the machine. If you dial a 1-4, that 4 has got to get in there, so you actually seize the trunk. So the 1-1s work that way, and what I think they call hits happen on SAT a lot, where you pick the trunk and release it. So, let me go into our standard service code selector. Hi there, 1 and 2 are vacant. 3 is directory assistance, 4 is repair, 5 is vacant, 6 is ringback code, which I go into, 7 is dial speed test. Thank you. 8 and 9 seem to be the test board, and 0 is a 911 type operator. You're supposed to dial 110. Okay, so that's the service code selector. So I guess I should really shut up and get on the phone and start recording. Let me dial like my own number, for example, 347-2355. I can dial our weather, 346-9888. You heard the absorption, so all I have to do is dial 6-9888. Even though 6 is absorbed, I still have to dial it to unlock all the other digits. Unlock the 9, as I explained earlier, so I'll dial 6-9888.
This is the WBBS Instant Weather Line. The Christian Family Book and Supply Center on New Bridge Street has a full line of Christian cards for all occasions. Today's scripture is Matthew 7:7. The forecast, mostly sunny today with a high in the low 70s, clear tonight with a low in the upper 40s, partly cloudy tomorrow with a high around 80, probability of precipitation near 0 through tomorrow. Winds westerly around 10 miles an hour, becoming southwest 5 to 10 miles an hour late today and tonight. Thank you for calling the WBBS Instant Weather Line. This is a recording.
It'll hang up. Watch what happens when I give it a few transients. It's not going to hang up. Hang up. Come on, come on. Now watch. Now that isn't sufficient, but with hook switch.
This is the WBBS Instant Weather Line. The Christian Family Book and Supply Center on New Bridge Street has a...
So much for that. That time it only took one transient. I guess I was ticking with the transmitter, and that was building it up. There must be a capacitor in there. As you see, it rings real quick. Now I'll dial a number 324. I'll dial 324-3101. I don't have to dial the 3, but I do have to dial the 4, so 2 cuts me through, then 4. Listen to the carrier. I'll pause between the 2 and then the rest of the digits. Listen to that hum. It's sort of a T carrier, but it whines funny.
Good afternoon, Slane's Motor Sales.
Hi, do you folks have any Suburbans yet? Possibly in stock?
No, we don't.
Thanks a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
So much for that. Funny sounding carrier. Let me dial the time. That's right in my same office. 55. I don't need to dial the 4. 55. And you'll hear there are no pulse repeaters or anything. Any little groans you hear between the digits are purely in the NX1 register. Listen.
Get a fleet-side Chevrolet pickup for only $36.99 at Marine Chevrolet.
Time 4:26. Temperature 72.
Oh well, it doesn't always drop to reorder. It usually waits 20 seconds or so, but I guess the timing relay in that trunk or whatever was bad, so it went there. Now I'll dial 353-2222 to demonstrate the pulse repeaters. Okay, I dialed 353-2222. Let it ring once, and I went down, up, and then dialed 1313. Another number.
Is that Alan?
Yeah.
Hello, Alan.
There you go. So let's see. Let me dial 451 and demonstrate the NX1 how it tandems out. I'll dial 451-1117 fairly quickly.
Hello, thank you for calling this service, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Time 16:31. Temperature 70.
Just a short down up. Drops it, and I'm in 451 directly. Watch what happens when I dial 1119.
At the tone 20 hours, 31 minutes, coordinated universal time.
And it doesn't even soup. 451-1119. The problem was the tandem had not been dropped back, and since something souped, the tandem itself, the NX1, would time out. So it, yeah, that's why it gave the busy signal. If I could release, and then I could have dialed 1117, it would have rung, and as soon as it souped, it would have, because the reorder was on the circuit, it would have released, and then I would have been left with just the reorder. Now I'll dial the 1117 slower, or I'll dial 111, let it pulse out. All you heard the first time was 117. I'll do 1119, I guess. And then I'll pulse the 9 manually. I'll wait till it cuts through. Notice how slow I have to dial pulse.
What I'll feature next is Bill explaining about SAT, Stroger Automatic Toll Ticketing. This is how the long-distance calling is handled. 1 plus an area code and 7 digits, or 1 plus a 7-digit number within his 919 area.
Okay, you dial your 7 or 10 digits, the operator comes on, beep beep, give the number, and you hear it keying, and not only hear it physically key it, but you hear the DC, and she goes off, tick. And then, to pick the trunk, it has a set of selectors which it dial pulses over. Regrettably, you can't flash through. You know, you're isolated from the trunk. And it goes beep, 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 beep. 1 or 2 digits.
Bill is talking to another phone freak, and so he very quickly explains how the thing works, and then goes into explaining how you can change the route that calls are going to take, as well as reach codes that normally couldn't be dialed, such as 513141 for the route and rate operator in Cincinnati. This is accomplished by dialing in unorthodox ways, which Bill explains, and he goes through about 3 different techniques very quickly that he explains and demonstrates too. Now, in order to understand all this, there are 2 fundamental concepts that apply to long-distance calls being processed by the SAT system and by most systems. The concept of translation, which is looking at the number dialed to see how the call is to be routed, and here that involves only the first 3 digits dialed after the initial prefix 1, and storage, which is just making a record of every digit you dial so that they can later be sent out, and, as far as Bill knows, also billed. The number that ends up on your bill is the number that is stored in the register. So there is a register storing all of your digits in order to outpulse them and for billing, and simultaneously there is a translator interpreting your first 3 digits in order to know what route to use. The techniques that Bill discovered are not really applicable to making free phone calls. They're more about doing cool stuff. Now, he discovered that by dialing digits that were longer than 10 pulses, for example, when Bill says, I'm going to dial a 42, that means he sends 42 dial pulses in a row. Well, the translation system interprets 42 as a 9. But the register interprets 42 as a 2. And because of that discrepancy in how the 2 different systems which are simultaneously operating handle these extra long digits, Bill is able to, for example, make calls to Los Angeles, area code 213, go through the same route as if he had dialed 913, because that's what translation thinks he dials, even though what he really is going to end up getting is 213. Dialing that first digit as 42 accomplishes this, and that's the first example I will put on here. But first, Bill will explain how the translation is done in SAT.
Okay, this is how SAT basically works. You pick a trunk. When you pick the trunk, you're on a register. But to get translation, there's also a rotary switch. So when you dial the first digit, the rotary switch follows you around. And it's an 11 position. That's interesting. It must need a rest position or something. So it's an 11 position rotary switch, and it'll pulse out the difference. If you pulse a 2, it'll pulse a 9. It follows you around and pulses the difference to get to rest, I guess. That's how it works. I'm not really sure of this. You must pulse it back or something. But then it selects for you a connector for the next 2 digits. The next digit goes up, whatever the digit is, like 254 would be selecting connector 2, up 5, and over 4. So you selected your 254. And then the translator gets to, it sees what position the rotary switch is in, what position the connector is in, and it knows what you dialed. And meanwhile, there's this register on all the digits picking up what you dialed. And that'll be, that'll help it bill. I assume that's where it gets the billing information. That's where it gets the information to pulse out. Now that register is such that if you dial more than a 10, if you dial 11, it'll start all over again. So an 11 is a 1, a 22 is a 2, a 56 is a 6, a 7,864 is a 4, whatever. It starts all over again. Now this rotary switch is continuous. It'll follow you around also. Except remember I said that the rotary switch was an 11 position switch? The result is that you lose one each time you go by. So therefore, if you dial a 22, the register that's going to MF out and presumably bill, I haven't solved where the billing comes from, but I think it's from the register, it thinks you dialed a 2. The translator thinks you dialed a 1, which is bad because there's no codes beginning with 1. But it's in such a way that you can go around and around. For example, the 213 exchange misroutes. It sends it to Fayetteville. Fayetteville doesn't have any trunks to 213, so it sends it on to Greensboro. We have Greensboro and should be sending it to Greensboro. So what I do is, it turns out that the code 913 for eastern Kansas it sends to where it should, to Greensboro. So if I did 1213, it'd 113, that's no good. 2213, it'd put the selector over the blank spot, blank 13, that's no good. 3213 is 013, but 4213 would be the same as 913. So the machine will outpulse 213, but the translator will think I'm dialing 913, and it'll switch it to Greensboro. So I guess I should let you hear the SAT now. I'll dial 213 990-4936, which will probably be busy. That's fun phone. And I'll dial it the way you're supposed to, just 1213 990-4936, and I'll demonstrate to you that how it goes through. And then I'll demonstrate it to you when you change the routing.
Number please.
347-2355.
Thank you.
I must live in the dirtiest office in creation. As it was going through before it quite hit Greensboro after Fayetteville, you heard that. The office is just full of transients like that. That's a drag.
As we listen to this call again, just ignore that. It's a step line finder noise, and those are all over Bill's step office. But hey, those cool step offices in the UK had the same thing. Anyway, here's how that call went through.
Number please.
347-2355.
Thank you.
The SAT dials 5 for Fayetteville. Now we're on Fayetteville, Greensboro, Sherman Oaks 2, and the end crossbar 5.
And you noticed it pulsed a 5 instead of a 9. Okay, now I'm going to do the old 913 substitution trick. Remember I said 1213 would be 113, 2213 would be blank 13, 3213 would be 013. So what we want is 4213, which is 913.
Your number please.
347-2355.
Thank you.
Boy, how do you like that? The number's busy, and all the people that want to get through to it get busy, and I didn't want to get through to it, and I had to get through to it. But SAT's good. It's got 2.5 to 5 seconds. It's similar to number 5, apparently, because I've never been oopsed yet.
Bill, who was an avid lover of direct connections, even though he also invented tandem stacking, would of course use this method to correct a routing error, and that's exactly what he does here. Here is the new corrected route achieved by making the translator think that he's calling area 913.
Your number please.
347-2355.
Thank you.
The SAT dials 9 for Greensboro. Now we're on Greensboro, Sherman Oaks, and the end office. So the unnecessary link to Fayetteville was eliminated in this case. Fayetteville had to send it to Greensboro anyway. The first time Bill tried this, he dialed a 41 instead of a 42, and here's what happened.
347-2355.
Thank you.
Now, Bill hung up because he and Alan know that ring. But you probably don't, although you've heard it if you've heard the Greenville recording made in 1974. Here's where I interrupted the MF sending on a call to the Fayetteville sector, and this is the ring of the Fayetteville 4A.
I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording, 9197.
When you're pulsing something like a 42, you can lose count. I pulsed a 41 with the result that it went to Fayetteville. It thought I wanted to dial 813 and pulsed a 113. Okay, well anyway, there's a couple more things I want to tell you about alternating digits. I don't know if you noticed, but on step connectors, if you put an 11 into the connector going up, it'll treat it as a 0. If you put an 11 going across the connector on the third digit, or the last digit of the connector, rather, second digit on most connectors, but third digit for this application because it's a translator, you'll step off the bank at the end after the 10th position. So that's not any useful, since if it doesn't have anything, it gives you vacant code automatically. Okay, so therefore you can make the second digit of a number appear to be a 0 at all times. I imagine with dial speed you could do funny things, but I have no way of really controlling the dial speed, accurately enough for all the tests. But like the register's probably able to take dial speed a lot faster than the connector could, so you could dial half the digit, like 5 pulses slow, and the rest of the pulses fast, so the connector might lock in or something, and not move. And you could totally make the translator independent of it. So you can control pretty much the first and second digits of the translator. Now, another thing you could do, the register will take dial pulses fast, but it won't take them if the digits are too close together. I shall illustrate what I mean. I'm going to dial 212-555-1212 as fast as I can and watch what happens to the mutilation of the digits when they come out. It isn't so much that the digits are pulsed out fast, it's that they're pulsed too close together. Watch what happens.
We're sorry, you have reached... We're sorry, you have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached...
Your number, please.
347-2355.
Thank you.
Sorry, but because of a temporary equipment condition, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording, 9197.
Well, it took me 3 tries, but I did get across the message I wanted to. Now, the first time it was vacant. The second time I never have had happen what happened. That is, the operator came on before I could say anything to her. It chunked me to vacant code. That is a strange occurrence, to put it mildly. I've never had that happen before, and I have no idea what caused it. What was that? 2 KPs and about 4 digits missing. Well, it was especially the digits missing that caught my attention. I said if you could synthesize that, you could dial operator codes. Because I'll show you what happens when you dial a number that... I'll try and dial 2030, and then I'll dial 2121, and I'll show you what happens. I don't get to dial the full number. Notice the rotary switch on that 2. You dial 1, 2, you hear that rotary switch spin around. Well, okay, it came to me, that I have to find a way to make those digits disappear. Well, the result was a 2 and a 1 dialed real quick together seem to do the trick, with the result that I can do something like this.
Your number,
347-2355.
Thank you.
This, of course, is the famous hum of the 2111 conference and related levels in the old Vancouver step tandem. And to get into this at this time, you pretty much had to be able to dial 604059 plus, which normally you couldn't do.
Now, tell me, where have you heard that hum before? Actually, if you noticed what it outpulsed, that digit still counts as something, with the result that you're stuck with 604-059-211. You could never get on the 1 unless you felt like SFing it. By the way, the polarity of the phone line reverses when a number soups. Local, because it's step, and the toll is sat, so it does it, same thing. Just reverses all the way back to your phone. Okay, I'll just demonstrate how you can make a few digits go away. Like, for example, I can call the route and rate operator in Cincinnati, Ohio, by doing this.
Number, please.
347-2355.
Thank you.
Operators, please. 203-324.
203 plus.
Thanks a bunch.
You're welcome.
Boy, it took her a long time to answer. There's no audible ring. And when it goes beep beep, you're supposed to say your piece. She'll say rate or something if you don't say that, but you're supposed to, as soon as you hear the beep beep, you're supposed to, it's both a warning for her and a warning for you, to that you have come together, because of course it just comes in on her board automatically. 503 doesn't soup either, neither does 212046, which, come to think of it, all those would be very useful to you because you have the speed calling. 513-141-2368 or 503, whatever. You can do all sorts of good things with it. You can even, I'm reluctant to demonstrate it, but you can even position the rotary switch in such a fashion that you can dial, like for Santo Domingo. Remember Santo Domingo? Got me in so much trouble. 172-689-1355, simply by seeing, like, so suppose there's an 872 exchange. I forget, exactly how I did it. You dial, 1, 1172 would be 072, would be blank 72. 2172 would be 072, 3172 would be 972, and 4172 would again be 872, and it would go through. So, 4172. Anything beginning with a 0 and 1 on the register will of course take, full 10 digits.
Jacksonville did have a system for 0+ dialing, which I never encountered in the Carolina telephone areas I visited. PPCS stood for person-to-person calling service, or something similar to that. It used the same SAT system in a slightly modified mode where the operator would stay on longer.
Okay, so I'm going to dial a number, say 215-748-0096. which is just a busy test. And this is how it sounds if you do collect.
Operator,
Yes?
may I help you?
Yeah, collect, please.
Your
From
number?
from Bill. 347-2355.
Thank you.
Collect from Bill.
Busy now. Will you try back later?
Thank you very
please?
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's the same thing as Kama, except when she keys the number and it doesn't go away. She has to do more things, and she has to stay on until whatever. How do you like when she releases it, gives you that busy signal? Youch, that's loud. By the way, 0 is also a double-header trunk. You dial 0 plus the number, and 0 puts you on the double-header trunk. The only difference is any digit will cut you into the SAT, and the way the double-header trunk picks its other route is if you wait 4 seconds and it goes chunk and puts you into the operator. In other words, the operator dialing 0 is a chord board, and it's not handled through the SAT machine in any way. It doesn't even pass through the SAT machine, just chunk. And you're like that.
That's all the telephone recordings Bill recorded, but there's more technical information here. This next part is interesting to me because it reminds me of the old days when Ben and I were playing with the other Carolina telephone step tandems, notably Rocky Mount, which was replaced by a 4A in early 1974, and Newbern, which remained a step with a lot of outgoing trunk groups that you could actually reach from the outside by dialing these codes. Jacksonville's tandem didn't allow you to get to the outgoing trunks from the outside, but calling out using the SAT, there was a whole smorgasbord of outgoing trunks. The codes Bill is about to mention are the codes that the actual SAT system rotary dials to get the outgoing trunk
Thank you.
before outpulsing. Some of these are MF outpulsed, and some of them dial pulse once the trunk is selected. But this list of outgoing tandems makes me feel like it's 1974 again, because I remember making a list like this as I was going through Rocky Mount, checking it out from Virginia.
Anyways, here are the digits, just in case you care. 11 is the 455 office. Dial pulse or MF, I'm not sure. Since you're barred from dialing it locally, you have to get out into a place that's toll. I'll go into that in a second. 12 is Wilmington. It dial pulses, but it's ESS. Wilmington has just become an ESS toll center, and it's lots of fun. 13 is Maysville, a little CDO of ours. 14 used to be New York 4.
2122.
They disconnected on June 5th of 76. 15 used to be
2012.
Newark 2, but they disconnected that on June 5, 76. 16 I never knew. 17 was
6172.
Boston, and that was dial pulse to the Boston 4M. They disconnected that the same date. 18 is 451 office. 19 was Wayne.
2151.
They disconnected that too the same date, so we have very few trunks. 10 is 353 office. I don't know, again, it could dial pulse or MF, I'm really not sure. But I have this horrible feeling it dial pulses. Because 633 exchange dial pulses in Newbern, and it's NX1E. Well, anyway, 21 is the vacant code recording. 22 is 555 universal information and answers on a chord board. 23 is Clinton in NX1, and it MFs out to the NX1. 24 is 324 office, step dial pulses, of course. 25 is Norfolk,
8048.
one of the few out-of-state trunks we have left, and that dial pulses, even though Norfolk's a 4A. Norfolk 2, I guess, actually is what we should call it. 26 is 326 office, step, dial pulse, just local. These are not these are tolled to its long distance, but they're served out of this office, Swansboro. 27 is Sneed's Ferry, 327 office. It's just a dial pulse. 27 is the code, and then dial pulse at step. 28 is at the moment Topsail Island, 328. Now that's going to become NX1E, so maybe it'll MF. I don't know. 29 is Holly Ridge, 329. That's step. Yuck. 20 is some sort of a monitor panel where they can look at the digits. Area code 909 pulses a 20. 3s are vacant. 41 is Newbern. 42 used to be Richmond or Florence. I get those two mixed up, but they're disconnected 6576. 44 was the other, whether it's Richmond or Florence, I don't know which. 45 is Laurinburg, number 5 toll center. Strangely enough, it does dial pulse. 46 is Charlotte.
7042.
4A, so that MFs. That's our 704. We do have one thing in 704. Then 40 is another monitor panel. They have two monitor panels for some reason. 5 is Fayetteville.
9197.
6 is supposed to be the 346 office, although I don't know since I've never had occasion to call it because I can't call it locally or it's barred. 7 is 347. Somehow that doesn't sound right, that they'd have two separate but maybe they would. 8 is vacant. 9 is Greensboro.
9192.
Then 01 is Raleigh.
9195.
4A in MFs. 02 is, let's see, Kinston. 03 used to be Washington, D.C.,
2022.
but they discontinued it. Same date as the rest of them. 04 is Greenville, NX1, so it MFs to it. 05 is Goldsboro, number 5 crossbar. Tandem, it MFs to it. 06 is
9199.
Rocky Mount 4A, MF. 07 is Atlanta 4E,
404 3C.
and of course it MFs. 08 is Winston-Salem 4A, and it MFs. 09 used to be Cleveland,
2162.
but they took that away, same date. And 00 is Columbia, South Carolina,
8032.
4A, and it MFs. Okay, so much for that. So I guess that's all the time I have. I'm running out of tape. Okay, enjoy yourself. We'll ship this right out to you, and give me a gong when you get it. Let me know what you think, and if possible, maybe you can send me back one. Enjoy.